welcome to the How We Work podcast. I'm David Hammond, and today we're talking with Tanuvi, who's a lawyer in the public sector.
Kia ora, David. Lovely to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. When did you first find out that you were neurodivergent?
I first found out I was neurodivergent at the end of my 6-year university journey. I was 23. I was starting my first job. I was really burnt out. University stretched me. I enjoyed it thoroughly, but at the same time it challenged me like there was no tomorrow. I was burnt out. I was tired. I was trying to figure out my life after my father had passed away when I was quite young and not dealing with the emotional issues from there. I reached an impasse in my education. I felt like I was unable to break the ceiling. I'd try so hard. I'd study so hard. It just wouldn't work. How could I love this thing, the law, so much? And I just can't get it. I just can't. So I went to go see a psychologist, an incredible GP who referred me to go see a psychologist. I did that, and that's when I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. And ancillary to that, they said they wanted to do some tests. They gave me the form that I had to give out to family members, which talked about ADHD and the kind of traits that they saw in me. And that's when I got my diagnosis. So it should have been 2022.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And what was it like when you found out?
It was liberating in some senses because there's nothing worse than going to a doctor and not getting an explanation for something that you felt for so long. It was liberating, but it was also scary because I didn't know what it meant. I had a label. Growing up, also South Asian, there wasn't really that much discussion about mental health neurodiversity wasn't even in my vocabulary at all. For me, it was put your head down and work really, really hard, especially as an immigrant too. I didn't think about ways of working. I thought, I just need to be the best. I just need to work really, really, really hard. It was a liberating label. It was challenging, but it gave me the opportunity to look back at my life, look back at patterns, look back at challenges, successes, and see what worked for me. Yeah.
And what were friends and family's reaction to it, the diagnosis?
Obviously. They were completely unsurprised. I think with friends, especially, my age, quite new, modern, have mental health, an understanding about mental health, they were unsurprised. In terms of the way I carried myself, in terms of the way I communicated with them, for them it was quite clear, and it was a long overdue diagnosis. For my mom, who's a primary school teacher, she didn't have the exact wording for it, but she knew how to support kids with ADHD without knowing, this kid's a little bit restless, or this kid sometimes can't, you got to give them something to do. So I think because she had her pulse on how different kids work, she's been a primary school teacher for 40 years. So I think she had an inkling that there was something about me. I was either completely disengaged in certain things or I was obsessive about certain things. I would throw myself headfirst into certain areas. So for her, it was a bit challenging at first because, you have to go through a learning process. You're learning yourself what that means for you, and then you're also explaining to your mom what that means. And she took it on incredibly. She went and got books on it. She would ask me questions about things. I had an idea like, oh, what if she's like, what if she says, oh, don't worry about it. Just push it aside. Just need to put your head down and read a bit harder,
Look a bit harder.
Exactly. Like, don't use your phone. Like, that distracts you. Like, maybe just try different textbooks and methods and whatnot. But she said, oh, okay. how do you feel about this? She asked me lots of questions about how I felt about it. She asked me whether I felt affected by it, and she asked me what she could do. And I said, I'm going through a really big learning curve, and it's so, it would mean a lot if you could also do some reading up on it. And she immediately threw herself into reading all of these things generally, but then she also made sure she asked me about my experience. And that's where it mattered, right? You can read a million things about ADHD, you can read a million things about neurodiversity, but it always matters what the neurodiverse person's experience is what matters. Yeah.
And it's always a little bit different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For a whole range of reasons, including life experience, genetics, a whole lot. But it always, it's always a bit different. Now, on reflection, what was school like, looking back?
School for me was... It was pretty lumpy. And when I say lumpy, I say there were subjects I did absolutely incredible in. I was so engaged in them. I would be top in class, be doing great. And there were other subjects where, I was a no-show, I was really flaky, I was always talking in class, not being particularly helpful. So my report card always looked a bit funny. And the consistent message from my teachers would be, Tanuvi's so sharp, but often for the things that she really, really likes and cares about. So things like the humanities subjects, English, history, classics, those were subjects that I loved. Economics, although not the maths part. That is, but when it came to the sciences, I was a bit, Yeah. So it was... in terms of education, it was quite lumpy. I was good at what I liked and not too great with dealing with things that I didn't. I threw myself into extracurriculars. Yeah. I was always known as being someone who was, the president of Amnesty International, the editor of the school news committee, some speech or debating contest, some basketball after school. It was... I don't know how I managed to do it, but I was happening. You constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look back and I'm thinking, oh my God, I loved being I loved engaging with people. I loved talking about different issues, especially social justice issues and public interest issues. I reveled in it. Community work was where I found my passion.
Yeah, I think it's been quite a common theme with some of what you've just said in other podcasts, where social justice and having a sense of right and wrong seems to come through quite strongly. At what point did you decide you wanted to be a lawyer?
It's hard in New Zealand because I know in the US and in other countries you do kind of a liberal arts degree. You get to play around with different subjects. Yes. But in New Zealand, you kind of start your bachelor's of law straight out of university. So I was tossing it up. I decided to do a law degree because I was terrible at math. I mean, this is the classic thing that you hear about. There were always a bunch of different things that I wanted to do. Yeah. For me, the core things were community, social justice, and some communicative debating element. So then I thought, as long as I have those three things, I'll be happy in any job. Yeah. I could be a journalist. I could be a policy advisor. I could be a lawyer. So then I thought, hey, my life philosophy has always been, I saw this video and it has stuck with me. Yes. There's a y-axis and there's an x-axis. Yep. And the more you mess around, the more you find out. Yeah. So I just mess around. Yeah. I just threw myself into journalism classes. I threw myself into a whole host of different things. Yeah. And through that, I was able to see that law is what I really enjoyed. Yeah. It gave me the type of law that I do is public work. Yeah. Obviously, I get to argue a lot, respectfully, and the critical thinking it's exactly what I love.
We've spoken previously, but what was your first job out of university?
So I was a legal advisor
Yes.
at a public sector organization.
Yes.
I had just found out, I just got my diagnosis. I just started kind of testing out with different medications.
Yes.
And you're going into this really high functioning, as much as we don't like that label, really, intense, interesting, challenging workplace. And every new job is scary. And then this added element just it was really confronting. And I was Googling neurodiversity, public sector, neurodiverse lawyers. So on one of my Google searches, I came across this spectacular paper called Untapped Talent, Neurodiversity in the Public Sector. And none other than yourself. That was when I chanced upon you, and that's, when our friendship and working together began.
Yeah.
Untapped Talent as a paper opened up a whole new world for me. At such an early stage when I was going through trying to figure out all of these questions, trying to deal with my first job ever, first legal, big role. Yeah. And to have that paper come at that time for me and make me realize that there are incredible, really well-established people in the public sector who talk openly about neurodiversity. I sank my teeth into that paper, and that's when I reached out to you because we were setting up a neurodiversity network. It was really a spectacular workplace. They, didn't know too much about neurodiversity, but it isn't about knowing about neurodiversity. You don't read a book and say, "Oh, I understand it." Yeah. You have employees who come up and say, "Hey, look, we want to create a community for this." And Untapped Talent, the Untapped Talent paper is what spurred that conversation. I contacted you. I said, "Hey, can we have a chat about neurodiversity in the public sector?" And I think this is something that, we should really talk about at my organization. And that's when we had our panel discussion.
We did. I mean, the thing with that was it was so many people in that particular organisation ended up there. It must have been 80 or 90% of the people, one way or another, whether it was in person or online. I think it was mostly online. Were there. I think since they've really run with it.
They absolutely have. It's a flourishing network now, and it's really well established.
And the thing is, when you're writing those papers, you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen to it, whether anybody's going to pay any attention to it at all. Because you write it, it's published, it's out there, and it's like it's sitting out there in the ether. So it's really nice when you get that kind of feedback when someone says it had an impact. And you just don't know what ripples it has when you're actually sitting away. In my case, it was sort of in the back room at home, writing away on it, what's actually going to happen to it. So it's really great to hear that. And I think it's probably an encouragement to a lot of people to actually be talking about it because they don't know what kind of impact they will potentially have on someone by talking about it. Even if it seems quite minor, it could be something that's really helpful to people.
Absolutely. And that's why I felt comfortable, cared about so much as a person in all of the legal roles that I've been in. And that's, it's a testament to those organizations. But because I felt so comfortable, they didn't come in with ideas of this is how we do this and that's the way it is. They were always just open and willing to learn. So when I was able to take on, it takes courage to just talk about it, to say, hey, look, I really love this organization. I really want to do good work. I need a little bit of help from you. I need this, I need that, because that really helps me out. And you don't have to be neurodiverse to have that. That is a question that all kind of organizations should be talking to their employees about. For me, it came up in the context of neurodiversity, but
because speaking to someone who's managed people, it's very rare for someone to actually come up to you and to be able to articulate to you how they work best.
Absolutely.
And what they need to help them work best. Or if you ask someone, the best you usually get is, I like a lot of autonomy. But that's all you get. It's no more. There's no more detail than that. So being able to do what you did is actually, I think, a great encouragement to a lot of people to actually do that, particularly when they're new in their careers, is to think about, how they work, or how they work better, and to actually have those conversations with the manager. Because I'll say, speaking from my experience as a manager, they'll probably be awestruck by the fact that someone's actually come in there, had those thoughts, and having that conversation.
Absolutely. This is one of the really helpful things with having ADHD is pattern recognition. I've got such, I mean, it's helpful and it can be quite challenging, but in terms of the good side of pattern recognition, early in my career, I was able to keep a pulse on what helped me. I realized that, good gosh, having a standing desk is an absolute saving grace for me. I need to be able to kind of move around, walk around, having functions at work. Sometimes I'd sit in front of a document and I'd, rewrite the same thing 8 times. To get myself out of that, what I actually found was really helpful was being able to dictate. Oh, sounds really like old-timey lawyer, but and I get a few laughs about this because I don't seem very modern as a lawyer when I'm walking around with a dictaphone. But dictating into a computer and then editing it after, I found that movement and discussion really helps me understand and break down concepts. So in doing that, I told my boss, I said, hey, look, like I really benefit off the kind of physical kinesthetic aspect where I would go into a breakout room and I'd do some parts, like if I was trying to figure out a concept and I was trying to work through it instead of sitting statically in front of a computer, I would be able to walk around. I'd be able to distract myself a little bit. And in that movement, a lot of ideas would come to me. And then I'd move it into a document. Then I'd be able to edit it and do the more meticulous stuff. But starting the process off in that way, I think that's how I wrote like 90% of my dissertation, was initially dictating it, would read papers, would synthesize the paper, dictate it into the phone, and then go in and edit it. And that is how I got over lots of writing blocks. That's what propelled me forward. So having a pulse on that and knowing that, and then going into the workplace and telling your boss, look, like this is how I work. And I said, absolutely. Like, okay, let's, there's a breakout room over here. Do you want to sit around this area?
When you're looking for a job or looking at an advertisement, what process do you go through? Because often the advertisements can be very broad and they can require to be good at 20 million things. How do you get yourself from looking at the advertisement to putting in an application? What sort of process do you go through?
A lot of mental toing and froing with myself in the first instance. Obviously, sometimes you see a job description and you think like, what are you actually asking for? Assisting in this and doing that and vague general values. I try first to kind of boil it down to those aspects that I see if I want this job or not. To me, I'm lucky to be in a position where I only apply for jobs that I really want and that I see align with my values. So what I said earlier is community work, critical thinking, and some advocacy element. So I'd see that in between all the HR jargon and job description speak, does it boil down and does it meet those kind of core needs that I need, those core points that I need and that I want to develop in my work life? So that's the first aspect. Something that has always discounted me from applying to certain jobs has been psychometric testing. I think those kind of online tests puts me in a really stressful state, kind of unable to just show my critical thinking skills when, I've always been better with interviews and with, questions or like the broad topic of questions being provided earlier.
Yes, because I've had some similar challenges where way back a long time ago, I was applying to do PhDs overseas, and they had various standardised testing. And cut a long story short, I did really rubbishy on those tests, and it was partly around the timing, but just they had such a narrow focus.
Absolutely.
It didn't really reflect any of my capabilities, or potentially, in my case, my ability to join up quite disparate pieces of information and make the connection.
Yeah.
It won't show out in any of those tests. And a lot of time, for a lot of neurodivergent people, those sorts of testing, it might not be exactly how I've described it, but doesn't quite capture what they can do and what they're actually good at. So what sort of advice would you give to HR managers or even hiring managers around job descriptions? Should they be, for want of a better phrase, tightened up?
Absolutely. It gives clarity. You're able to assess, where you can bring your strengths. If someone says doing this or assisting that, and then slightly changing it depending on the level, that doesn't really give you that much. Like, you need to tell me if you expect that I'll be managing clients.
Yes.
Because that's something you'll need to think about. Is that something that I want to be doing at this stage of my career? What does that mean for me? How do I effectively communicate with that? What do I then talk about in an interview stage too?
Yeah.
Being clear, being direct. I don't think any job description fluff really helps anybody. When I first saw my job, my current job description, I was in a place where I really enjoyed my previous job. I wasn't leaving out of a lack of love. I was interested in trying something new.
Yeah.
And that year was a year that I thought I had so many beliefs that stopped me from trying things out.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the Y and X.
Yeah.
The more you mess around, the more you find out.
Yeah.
So that year I decided my philosophy was going to be lob it in.
Yeah.
So I was going to lob in an application. It was a job that I'd always thought about. It had all of these elements that I cared about: advocacy, court time, critical thinking. It was an area of law that I was always passionate in. But I always thought, oh gosh, the type of people here are ridiculously smart. They've got straight A's at university. I got some pretty good grades too, but a little bit more inconsistent and lumpy. And my skills were a bit more different and diverse. So I thought, but then the voice in my head said, lob it in.
Yeah.
I lobbed it in.
Yeah.
I was called for an interview.
Yeah.
The interview had multiple parts.
Yeah.
The first part was a written element. The second part was behavioral questions. And the third was working through a problem question.
Yeah.
And the second I started that process, I realized I wanted to work there.
Right.
I loved the process. And for someone who is neurodivergent and who is also quite anxious because they deeply care about their work and, I'm not too sure if I've ever walked out of an interview feeling so clear in my mind that I wanted to be there because of the kind of questions that were asked of me, because of the kind of engagement, because of the kind of care and comfort and consideration that the interviewers gave and the organization gave. For me, that was... And having a multi-part interview, I know it can be stressful. I mean, I was looking at it and I was like, 2 hours? What are you going to talk to me for 2 hours about? But when they said, hey, there's different elements, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. They gave the broad topics. They didn't give the exact questions, but it gave me the comfort to realize, okay, there's different sections where if I didn't feel I did so well in the written element, I could redeem myself in behavioral questions or in the problem question. And I think one thing I'd say for hiring professionals is if you're going to have a two hour interview or like a 2 hour kind of component, break it up. Give people the opportunity to show their skills in different contexts.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to assume that the kind of work that you do is quite interdisciplinary. It challenges different things. And if you want different kinds of people in your organization, your hiring processes should reflect that.
Yeah.
It should give people the opportunity. If they don't if they aren't strong in this one element, they're able to redeem themselves and prove their other skills. Because if we all had the same skills, I mean, nothing.
You wouldn't really have a team.
No, never.
No. Because I think what you're really saying is that you're going to miss out on people if you stick to very rigid systems that doesn't encapsulate what the job actually involves.
Exactly. And for me, the job description, a little bit opaque.
Yeah.
But then I thought, hey, I did my own boiling it down and lobbed it in. But that interview is where I got the real clarity. And in the way they interviewed,
Yes. So people really shouldn't discount themselves, even if they think, goodness, this really doesn't look like me. Doesn't that often. It's better sometimes just to have a go at something in case, yes, actually, the job description might not be telling me everything, but, I think I've got something here.
Absolutely. I think every time I've lobbed something in, and this is what I'm starting to realize now, I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs. I'd look at a job description and say, there's no way I could do that. There's no way I could do that. Don't discount yourself, because that's something that, they can assess. Lob it in, give it your best go. Every time I have, even if that particular opportunity hasn't come my way, something else has. What has come my way through lobbing it in and it not going so well is clarity on what I want for myself, on how I work.
So would you recommend joining something like the How We Work community page as a way of potentially developing self-confidence when applying for jobs?
Definitely. I think we talk about neurodiverse experiences being so individual. What neurodiversity looks different for all kind of people, and having a space to share and to talk about it gives you some sense of solidarity. Even if your experiences don't look the same, you have these shared learnings and you're going through a process with people. For me, that solidarity aspect is so important, especially when you're putting yourself out there. It takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of drive, and it's frightening. It's definitely frightening. You're thinking, am I the only one feeling this way? But that momentary discomfort of putting yourself out there, whether it's applying for a job or coming onto a community and talking about your experience, what I've seen is that momentary discomfort, if you're able to get over it, or if you're able to kind of push forward, you are paid back in kind.
Yes.
I've put myself out there and I've said to a lot of coworkers, I'm neurodiverse, I have ADHD. These are the things that really help me work. And in sharing that, in that momentary, oh gosh, what are they going to think? How are they going to respond? What does this mean? They've responded often in kind. It's scary, but it is. It can be really scary. And the thing is, if you're, and it can be scary. And a lot of times you'll get really positive feedback, but occasionally, you can get negative feedback. And having peers that you can bounce ideas off, or basically I wouldn't quite use the word confide, but you can basically share your experience with, can be really useful, and not having to explain yourself. I think our first meeting, David, when I was this young buck in the legal field and I reached out to you, hey, this incredible paper, it just gave me a sense of calm. It gave me a sense of how I could navigate things. And I think our first discussion was just was saying, yeah, exactly. Oh, you too? Me too.
Yeah.
And to even have that information sharing, this worked for you, that worked for me, I said one of the things that I'm really passionate about is advocacy, community, and critical thinking. And the How We Work community is exactly those three things.
Yes.
It's community building. It's critical thinking, because you're figuring out, okay, they're contemporary modern work settings. How do we move through and how do we make these settings work for everybody? And it's advocacy because you're there putting your voice out there. There's lots of work we need to do in terms of equity and that equitable outcomes in advocacy space.
Yeah, and I can perhaps share a perspective of someone who's a bit older. It would have been great when I was first starting out to have had a place to actually go and do that, because you can feel quite isolated and think you're the only person who's had that experience. And we all have slightly different experiences, but it's nice to actually feel not quite so alone and feel like, right, someone else is having this, and actually maybe they've got an idea or two that I can pick up on. Yeah. Because it can feel quite isolating.
Yeah. I've learned that through talking to other junior lawyers too. You know, we all have a great deal of perfectionist tendencies. There's certain things that if we're doing like large document reviews, we kind of have different ways of working, and we just share how we work, and you see whether that works for you or not. It might not. But that information sharing and solidarity, it kind of breaks down all of those access barriers that people have. I've become a better lawyer and a better friend, a better person through being able to share with people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the thing about this is it's a community forum, so in one sense while it's a forum, you can do it with a certain amount of privacy. Yeah. Which if you're not used to doing that, and perhaps it's the first time you've talked to people about being neurodivergent, it's quite useful to do it in a place that's, I loathe this phrase, but quite safe.
Yeah. I completely agree, especially as someone who I think I've always worried a little bit about perception. Yeah. I've always thought, I'm putting myself out there. Is there any way that I'm kind of bringing risk to myself, whether how people are going to react in a professional or personal workplace setting, a professional or personal setting? Yeah. And the community has really helped me get over that fear. And I think the different settings within the community that, you know, people are at different stages in their journey. Yeah. I've kind of slowly started entering this more open advocacy about my experience and sharing my life with other people. And people should have various settings in which they're able to engage with the community and in a way that's respectful and safe for them. Because you won't get good things out of the community if you're unable to engage in a way that works for you. Yeah. It's like work. I mean, you can't. You work best when it works for you. Yeah. And for some people, that will be actually providing advice. And there'll be the stage where they feel comfortable doing it. For other people, it will be actually just lurking in there, and just observing and taking things in, and potentially just seeing that there are other people like them who are going through similar things, and that they'll learn that way. Yeah. I mean, I think I was lurking for about maybe 2 years on like forums, thinking, oh, ADHD lawyer, what does it mean? How can you do this? So it took me a bit of lurking. It took me a bit of seeing other people put themselves out there, seeing the reception, and also realizing that you'll get good reception from some people and you'll get bad reception from some people. And that's how it's going to be. But often, and what I learned and what I've seen is that you get paid back in kind. You create a community, and putting yourself out there. I mean, I'm stoked if I see another young migrant brown woman realizing that she also is neurodiverse and she's able to talk about it because there's someone, someone else who's done it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know it's very cliched, but if you can't see it, you can't be it. And as I said, it's really cliched, but there's some truth to it. It's a cliche for a reason, and I'm a bit cheesy, so I love cliches, and it's absolutely right. Yeah. Like being able to see what's given me the kind of courage to talk about it more openly and to throw myself into employee network groups and just general community work where I talk about my experiences was hearing that other people feel comforted by it, that they're able to take a next step. So,
Yeah.
I mean, heck yeah, I'll take on a little bit of discomfort if that means that I'm able to bring people into the fold. We can create a community, and then it's something that isn't really, that's every day.
As you're one of our community leaders, can people reach out to you with questions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've said it here and I want to repeat it again for everybody that if you're willing and comfortable to, put yourself out there a little bit and put yourself on the page or in whatever capacity, whether that's more private or discussing with me directly, I will be paying that back in kind, because I want to bring people into the fold. And I've chosen my engagement to be with this community and to be a community leader, because that's exactly, I want to grow and develop this. So people they can message me about anything under the sun. Obviously not work-related matters, but
yes.
I would love to talk to other people about just being a neurodiverse professional, just a neurodiverse person, moving in life, moving through work. That's what I'm here for.
That's awesome. Tanuvi, it's been great having you here. If there was one bit of short advice you could give your younger self, what would it be?
I would tell my younger self to lob the application in, to give it a go, to mess around and find out. And in that process, you'll be paid back in kind. You'll create community. It's a little bit of momentary discomfort putting yourself out there, but it's worth it.
Tanuvi, it's been great having you here. Look forward to having you on the community page, and people being able to reach out and communicate with you.
Thanks so much, David. It's great being here and great being a part of this.
Thanks.